Andre Perry is our guest tonight from the Brookings Institution. We are talking about obstacles that Black-owned business owners face across the U.S., even here in Nashville. Andre, welcome back to the show. Thank you again for being with us. I want to go back to something that you mentioned right off the top of the show when we were talking about the number of businesses owned by Black people, that it is disproportionate to the population. By far, only, 4.3% of businesses are owned by Black people?
Yep. Yeah, 4.3% of all businesses and only 2% of employer firms, meaning firms with more than one employee. And that's not coincidence, by coincidence. Now, remember, and I mentioned this in the last segment, that most people start their businesses using the equity in their homes.
Because they can't get a loan, right?
That's right. Only one person compared to 1 out of 7 people actually start their business using a loan, and when they do get loans, they get them at much higher interest rates. And so for Black Americans, it really starts with a lack of individual wealth in our community. The racial wealth gap in this country is enormous. A white family median wealth is about $170,000 compared to just $17,000 for Black families. And so that lack of wealth leads to a lack of an ability to start a business, puts you in worse position to get a good loan. If you have less collateral, you get worse interest rates. In addition, and let's be clear that there's discrimination in the banking industry. And so Black people who qualify for loans often do not get them, or we get them at higher interest rates. So there are several barriers that Black business owners face when trying to start a business. And it's not just about starting a business, as we were talking in the last segment, sustaining business is a challenge. Many Black businesses aren't part of the supplier diversity in local governments. That's why it's vitally important that the city of Nashville make sure that it contracts with minority businesses. And many times, particularly during the pandemic, we've seen governments relax those mandates where they existed. In fact, the federal government did away with its affirmative action policies, which really also hurt Black businesses. So when governments need services done, they contract with business owners. And if Black people aren't a part of that, then it's really going to be tough, because government is such a big revenue stream for many different businesses of all types. So Black business owners face a myriad of challenges from the business community, but also just from the overall economic environment as well. But there are bright spots. Let me mention that also during the pandemic, we've seen significant business activity in Black neighborhoods. So of the new businesses being created, there's a higher likelihood of new businesses being started in Black communities, largely because we have to, because of the uneven unemployment rates. Black people have higher unemployment rates, and because so many businesses close, we have got to start businesses. So you're seeing new businesses being started largely because of the pouring of relief funds going into communities. So Black people are essentially using a lot of the relief funds to start new businesses. Instead of buying things, they are saying, hey, I'll invest in myself and start new businesses. So that's a good thing. But we should be issuing grants and loans to Black business owners when a pandemic is not upon us. We shouldn't have to wait for a disaster to get the kind of revenues that quality businesses deserve. Again, for viewers who may not have seen the first segment, it was what we showed that Black, Brown, and Asian businesses actually score higher on Yelp than their white counterparts. And it's significant because these rating systems are used or are considered valid measures of the quality of business. And so we have quality businesses out there, but they're not getting the investments they deserve so they can expand. And during this period where you're seeing trillions of dollars being sent to states and to residents in the recovery, particularly in around this infrastructure bill, if the House can pass this infrastructure bill, it will unleash a whole slew of opportunities for businesses. But if businesses aren't at a scale, Black businesses aren't at a scale to really participate, then we're going to be left behind by these investments. So it's really important that we recognize the value of Black businesses so that we can invest and have them grow.
One of the observations from your evaluation that I found really interesting and really stood out to me was when you looked at the revenue of businesses, majority-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses, and it said those of majority-owned businesses, the ones who had good Yelp reviews, the annual revenue increase was usually about 8.5% to 9%. Those with poor reviews, it was lower, as you would expect, between 5% and 7.5%. But for Black majority-owned businesses, the level of reviews did not make a difference when it came to revenue growth.
Yeah, and some of this is about are people going to the actual businesses in Black neighborhoods? And if they're not, they're getting less customers, they're getting revenue. But again, this goes back to what I was saying earlier. These businesses are worthy of our dollars. And so if typically we recognize talent with treasure.
Sure.
We say we're going to invest in that hot chicken place. We're going to invest in that accountant. We're going to invest in that barber shop, whatever it could, and it could be a tech company, whatever. But if we're not doing that, we are robbing quality businesses of the revenues they deserve. We found that quality businesses are losing upwards of $4 billion a year. Highly rated businesses, I should say, losing up to $4 billion a year simply because of perception.
Wow.
And so we really have to change that number. And I'll put this out there just so people can understand that if the number of employer businesses, the percentage of employer businesses matched the percentage of Black people in the population, we would add across the country more than 800,000 new businesses to the economy, trillions of dollars added to the economy, more technological advancements, greater pay, more jobs, everyone with benefits. In this regard, equity is stimulus. So if we can figure out a way to invest in the underappreciated assets of Black businesses, we can actually grow the economy. A lot of people might listen, well, if you're giving Black businesses, you're taking them away from us. No, you're actually expanding the proverbial pie by investing in the underappreciated quality assets that will offer return on your investment. And that return benefits everyone. We get it in the return of revenue growth, community development, better products, better services. If only we could end our negative perception of Black businesses, we could see them grow and our economies expand. Because this is the thing. People, politically, people have very different opinions on should we have stimulus, should we have these programs. Equity is stimulus. If we can naturally, through our dollars, just invest in the companies that deserve our dollars, everyone wins.
Yeah.
And so for me, this is about making sure that we spotlight quality in the hood.
Is it short-sightedness or is it racism that prevents this?
It's both. I think racism makes you short-sighted. You know, racism literally blinds you to the quality. That's what we're seeing. That if these businesses were in a white neighborhood, they would receive more revenue. And so there's no question, racism really limits our ability to see talent, our ability to get quality services. We cut our nose to spite our face every day with racism. And you know, people are tired of this. We really just want to see quality acknowledged. That's it.
Yeah.
This is not a, you know, some fight to say frequent a business you shouldn't. No, what we are finding is Black, brown, and Asian businesses, a lot of them are very quality, and we are not seeing them because of our negative perceptions.
We're going to take another quick break. Before we do, though, I want to remind everybody this is OpenLine, and we would love to hear your thoughts on this topic. And especially if you are a Black business owner, chime in. Tell us your experience. The number is on the screen, 615-737+. We're coming right back.